Hey guys, Geoff from Beer Cartel here with another live video broadcast to Facebook. It's Wednesday, I think it's the 7th?
Yeah, it is the 7th.
7th, or 6th of the 7th, I think it actually is. 6th of the 7th.
Yeah,
so, it's a Wednesday. We're going to do this video yesterday. Normally I do my videos on a Tuesday and a Thursday, but David wasn't available there. So, first point of call. I'm going to introduce the guest that I have with me today. So, David Paton is one of our sales reps for some American brands now.
Yes. Yeah.
David's been in the industry for a number of years.
Yeah, I think 7 now.
7 odd years.
Yeah.
Tell the folks at home a bit about what beers you used to look after before you started doing some of the American beers.
Yeah, so I was actually a tour manager over in Europe a long time ago now, and that's where I sort of fell in love with European beers and came home and managed one of the Bavarian beer cafes here in Sydney. And after 2 years of managing the one in the entertainment quarter, moved across to Urban Beverage Imports, who sell Francis Kahner, Hofbrau, Paulaner, Hacke Pschorr, some wonderful German beers.
Yep.
So I was with them for more than 4 years in the end, and came across to Craft Revolution in February of this year.
Yep. So Urban Purveyor Group, it used to be a family-owned business that was then sold. So that's actually been sold to some private investors, from what I understand.
Yeah, a private equity firm called Quadrant.
Yep.
So they're on a very aggressive growth and expansion program at the moment, looking to acquire venues left, right, and centre.
I think they've acquired, or their plans to open another 11 venues. Is that what I read?
Yeah, 9 in Sydney and another 2 in Melbourne. And there's rumours circulating about the Keystone Group as well.
Right.
If you're selling a venue at the moment, maybe give them a call.
Yeah, well, the Keystone Group were having some not financial, but they were put in receivership earlier this week or late last week, something along those lines. So they've actually expanded. You can read up about it in the Shout or various sort of beer-related or industry-related publications. But yeah, I guess the expansion groups, you then went, they're expanding. You've then gone from them to Craft Revolution. So tell us a little bit about Craft Revolution, what you guys do.
Yeah, so Craft Revolution, at the moment, we specialise in American craft beers. My passion and my love has always been American craft beers. Our flagship brand is Kona from Hawaii. I fell in love with Kona when I went there on holidays 4 or 5 years ago. And they have Redhook from Seattle and Widmar from Portland as well.
And you've also got a specialty.
Yes. So we have a strong relationship with the guys from James E. Pepper, and we were able to obtain their limited release rye whiskey barrel aged brown ale. So, Imperial brown ale. So try to say that fast.
That's it.
10 times, and you'll know how hard it is. But very excited because it's a stunning beer. Rated 98 out of 100 on Rate Beer, and it didn't let me down when I finally got to try it. So
So for you guys at home, playing at home, they're the 2 beers that we're going to look at. So you would have seen them in some of the either the post updates that we've had, where we've listed all the beers that have come into store and available online as well. Or if you've checked out our in-store and growlers page on the website, you'll see them listed there. So the first one, so David mentioned these, Redhook. So this is the ESB. They do a long hammer, and that's the hat as well. They do a long hammer IPA. And I think they're the two there's one other that comes into Australia?
No, just the two at the moment. They also do another beer called the Audible Ale, which is at the moment only available in America, but we will look to bring that in at another stage.
Cool. So if you're one of our subscribers to our monthly beer packs, the Redhook ESB is in this month's pack for July, and all those packs have now dispatched, so some of you should have started receiving those on Tuesday and today, and for anyone else, we reassure you it is on its way because they've all left our warehouse. So, Redhook. What about the brewery? Tell us about the story behind Redhook.
They started in the early 80s, I should say, in 81. They originally, when they started, their first brewery produced a local beer, which the locals knew as the banana beer. Not because it was a wheat beer or because it was meant to taste like banana, but through some step in the brewery process, they produced a beer that tasted like banana.
Right.
Wasn't exactly the most popular of beers.
Was it a fault in the brewing process?
I believe it might have been a fault in the brewing process, and so other than a few loyal locals, it wasn't exactly a commercial success.
It wasn't a red hot hit.
However, when they their big moment, or the sort of their light bulb moment, was when they produced the ESB in 1987. So from there, that beer became hugely popular in Seattle, and then started to sort of filter further south down the west coast, and then from there they produced their IPA and grew from there. So they started an old transmission sort of mechanic style garage, similar to Garage Project, and grew from there. Very famous for their marketing campaigns and their creative tap handles. They've got tap handles which are blow horns, so when you pull the tap handle, it makes a noise. I don't know if that's exactly what you want when you're in a pub, but maybe at a football stadium or something that creates some atmosphere. I got another one which is a video game. Again, I don't know if that creates productivity for the staff member, those sort of space invaders on that little tap handle.
That's right.
And then finally, they've got one which is a Mardi Gras tap handle as well. So they're big supporters of marriage equality in America, and they brought that out to show their support. And so it's sort of a rainbow sort of technicoloured tap handle, which was brought out to show they were behind that
equal opportunity.
Equal opportunity, exactly.
Rights. Fair enough.
Good on them.
The one thing actually that's quite interesting, so you mentioned they started in the 80s. I think that if you are having any of their beers, so the ESB or the IPA as well that we've got in stock, you probably need to think of them as the beers that were kind of forthcoming at that time. So they're not modern takes on IPAs, so they're not big West Coast IPAs or anything along those lines. They're kind of what you would expect the beers to have been back in the early 80s. So for their time, I think they were possibly kind of probably like a
you would say
traditional beer for the time.
For the time, I suppose if you're comparing it to what was readily available, like a Bud or a Coors, this was sort of something very, very different. However, given that the craft scene has progressed so much further now, these beers are probably more sort of in the sessionable category of the craft market in America. But they're very very proud of their history. Their bottles, they describe them as bullet bottles, and they want to stick to how they were originally. So they want to hold on to their history, which I think is wonderful.
They've a bit slightly reminiscent of the VB throwdowns.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, it does make me think of the old throwdowns as a kid. Probably showing my age there. 18-year-old child, not child, a teenager, I should say. But yes, good memories with the throwdowns. But
So let's pour this one.
Dig in.
So last week we did the review of the Mornington Dogs Bollocks ESB.
Beautiful beer.
So it's same style, so both are ESB. So I've brought out the pint glasses, the English pint glasses out again, because why not? They won't obviously quite fill the pint glasses right to the top, but they'll give us enough room to get our noses in there and have a bit of a smell. So they're 5.8% from memory. 5.8%. About $6 a bottle, around about $31 on the 6-pack, and they're available in store and online, of course. So, David, there's one
Thank you very much, Geoff.
So you can see there, it's like a copper golden colour.
Yes.
Slightly amber, but not very dark in its amber colour. And it's got like an off-white head for this ESB. And so ESBs, traditionally, I mentioned it last week, the ESBs even though they do have bitter in the name, they're not traditionally a very bitter beer. In saying that, the Mornington one actually did surprise me.
Yeah.
Because it sits at about 40 IBUs. They did use some I think they might even dry hopped it from.
Yeah, I think so.
So it was reasonably bitter, but I'm not expecting this one because this is the first time I've tasted this beer.
A lot smoother. So let's see how we go on the nose. So I got a lot of caramel on the nose.
Yeah, toastiness.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I get a bit of nuts flavour as well.
Sweetness as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's obviously a beer that is definitely driven by the malts, which is the intention with the beer. I don't think you necessarily think that it is 6.5%.
No.
It probably drinks more like a 5.5% beer.
Yeah. Very smooth.
The sweetness probably takes the edge off the beer just a little bit. Carbonation, you can see it's got that's pretty fine carbonation, and I expect the head retention to be reasonably good on that beer. So not a bad ESB.
Yeah, just very sessionable. I think these Redhook have always been sort of big on making beers that you can have 3 or 4 of and not butcher your palate. Just really enjoy them on a Sunday afternoon, whether you're watching American football or Australian football. But they're really big on making beers that can be enjoyed. Not with just one, but a couple, which is nice.
Well, there you go. I'll set that one aside, and I guess the next beer that we want to, talk a little bit about. So we'll pop the Redhook ESB over there next to its hat. Is the 1776 James E. Pepper Rye Whiskey Imperial Brown Ale.
Oh, I did well. I didn't make a mistake. I'm impressed.
So you'll see we've got 2 bottles here. This is the sample that David has brought in for us to taste, and these the 650ml bottles are the bottles that we've actually got in stock. So they're the ones that we have available at the moment, and we still have some left, but we are looking to possibly get these smaller bottles in stock, because traditionally that's kind of what we do, get smaller ones so that people can, when they're buying the range of beers that they want to try out, they can get a range of smaller ones rather than always having to get larger bottles. In saying that, though, at the moment, based off some rough calculations I made, the 650ml bottle will be the better value buy compared to the 330ml, which makes sense. You've got probably not as much glass in it, and the brewers are kind of selling you that at a slightly cheaper rate, and therefore we're buying it at a slightly cheaper rate as well.
For the larger volume.
So you'll get a bit more value out of that one. Now, this beer. James E. Pepper, tell us a little bit about these guys, because they're not actually a brewery.
Right, no, they're actually a distillery. So they're very famous for their rye whiskey. They started in 1780, just after the War of Independence of 1776. So James E. Pepper, which is what the distillery is named after, he was brewing through the War of Independence, but he started his, distilled. His distillery opened in 1780. Yeah. And through the 1800s, he became one of America's biggest whiskey producers. And sort of come the early 1900s, as a lot of people know, Prohibition came in America, which provided massive challenges for all liquor producers, beer, whiskey, wine, anyone that was producing liquor. They didn't actually get a license to produce through the Prohibition era, but they obviously had barrels that were aging, and they found a loophole to continue selling this, which was that they got over 37,000 doctors to endorse the whiskey for medicinal purposes. Right. So
that's health professionals.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm not sure exactly what health benefits it provided. I don't know, but 37,000 doctors can't be wrong. So. However, after Prohibition, they weren't able to obtain a license to brew. There's only a very few licenses that were offered once Prohibition was ceased or was removed, and so they stopped producing whiskey, I think, from about 1950. and then an entrepreneur in 2008 who had some very distant ties to the distillery reopened the distillery and started producing the rye whiskey again, and they've just gone from strength to strength. I think in Kentucky you can't go into a bar without seeing them these days. Yeah,
okay.
yeah, hugely popular. And with all these rye whiskey barrels lying around, they thought maybe we should make a beer and age it in our barrels.
Fair enough. Well, we might open this bottle. So that's a 330ml bottle of the 1776, and it comes in at about 10%.
10.4.
10.4%.
Yep.
The large bottle, which is what we have in stock, is about $34 on the nose for those. So we've still got some of that stock left. But so that we have a slightly more manageable quantity, because we do go back to work after this.
Absolutely.
So we'll just share this smaller one, and we might even keep some for Richard, who is mining the shop for us today while we're doing the video.
Thank you, Rich.
So we won't be, as they say in French, gourmand, which means greedy, and we will save him a little bit in the glass. In the bottle. So for these ones, I think these are our Spiegelau glasses. There's Festival Spiegelau glasses. I'm not sure if we still stock them, to be honest, but we have stocked them in the past. So Spiegelau make quite nice glasses. You can actually hear it. It's a very, very nice ting. And they're slightly thinner than the other glasses. They make your specialised sort of IPA glasses, stout glasses, wheat beer, Pilsner, and their stemmed tulip as well. So this is one of their glasses. So I've poured it in this because it's kind of traditionally what you'd actually put a stronger beer into, some type of chalice or tulip glass. Is generally what you would put a 10% beer in. Well, that's what I do at home at least. It's probably a little bit warm, so we have had this sitting out. So Dave had this in the fridge for a little while for the day, and we have had it sitting out for the best part of an hour, I'd say.
Yeah, I'd say, yeah.
But you could almost serve this at room temperature.
Absolutely.
Especially if you're in Sydney at the moment, probably not our Queensland viewers, but if you are in Sydney or in Victoria, we've had some very, very cold nights. And I know that, so my cellar is in our garage, and I know I've gone down there. And when I say cellar, it is just our garage. It's not actually a big cellar. I just have a corner of the garage that I'm permitted to have some beers aging. And I know I've gone down there in in the last week, and picked some beers straight out of the garage, not even worried about refrigerating them to chill them down. So these guys. So this is actually a collaboration beer. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I used Beltway Brewery, which is just outside of Washington, D.C. in Sterling. They're actually a brewery that mainly do contract brewing. And the boys from James E. Pepper have known them for a very long time, before they even opened their brewery in 2011. And when this concept of using rye whiskey barrels to age beer sort of came about in conversation, the boys at Beltway said, please, let's do something together, and this was the byproduct. Very excited. I absolutely love this beer. So
it is. It's quite decadent, actually, just in the aroma and even in the mouthfeel. So with that sort of higher ABV, you do get a bit more of an overall sort of. It actually feels a little bit velvety. It's got quite a bit of a creaminess to it. The interesting thing with the barrels used for this beer is that from Kentucky to the guys that are actually brewing it, that's in Virginia, so that's on the East Coast. Kentucky, from memory, is sort of more central east maybe. And the barrels are shipped from the distillery to the brewery within 30 days of the whiskey having been taken out.
Yeah. So that's very important for the aging process, because as the barrel ages, once the rye whiskey is taken out of it, obviously the remaining rye whiskey within it starts to evaporate. So the fresher the barrel, the more flavour that will come through in the barrel aging process. It doesn't sound like very much, but when you taste the beer, the rye whiskey flavour comes through so much with so much more prominence because of that commitment to getting the barrels as quickly as possible to the Beltway Brewery.
Do you know how long they actually age them in those barrels for?
I believe it's between 3 to 6 months. So it depends on demand for the beer. They produce very limited supplies in America, and we were stoked to get a couple of pallets for Australia. I don't think we'll be able to get some again until at least 2017, probably.
Is it an annual release, or they do it when they get barrels?
Yeah, it's not necessarily an annual release.
Yeah.
They produce it on a yearly basis, year in, year out. But it's more so based on the barrels that are available, and obviously there's a demand in America for the beer. They also ship a lot to England as well. So the demand and supply of obviously the rye whiskey barrels dictates on how many litres of the beer they can produce. So that's the sort of the basis behind how many bottles they can produce.
Okay. So you definitely get whiskey on the nose and in the mouthfeel. And in the taste, and you also get kind of hints of vanilla as well. So it's definitely it's quite interesting. And I mean, even after we finish this video, I'll probably sit on this and see what it actually is like, probably around room temperature, because I think at the moment it's probably about I'm guessing about 15. A bit warmer. So it's about 15 degrees now is what I'm guessing this is probably at. Room temperature in here must be about 20 odd degrees. So I think as it warms up, like many beers in this style, or stouts, or Imperial brown ales, or you get more flavour
as it warms up.
So this beer, they recommend you can cellar it for up to 5 years, so they've got that on the label, and it's definitely in the styles of beers that you can age. So if you think of beers that you can age, you usually want sort of higher alcohol. Something that's been barrel aged is perfectly fine as well. The only thing I will always say is keep it in a cool, dark place. So like I mentioned, for me, it's the coolest dark place where I live is in our garage, and it is pretty much
my cellar.
My cellar, and it's pretty much on the concrete slab, because I know I can get a reasonable, consistent temperature there. You don't want to age beers in the fridge. The reason being is that the fridge is cold, and that kind of assists in preserving a beer. And what you're actually trying to do with aging a beer is to actually get it to develop. So you'll probably get over time that some of those kind of whiskey flavours are kind of toned down just a bit, and the ABV will tone down as well.
I'd
probably
so.
Slightly smoother, and probably not that it's sharp now, but probably in about 12 months to 24 months, I'd say it'd be very, very good drinking. And obviously you can keep it even past those 5 years if you want to. I mean, I've got beers that are recommended for cellaring for 12 months or 2 years or something, and I keep them well beyond those 2 years. I usually buy a few bottles, and I kind of have a bit of a virtual vertical tasting, because I don't have them at the same time, so I don't virtually remember what the beer was prior to that. But at the end of the day, it's just about enjoying the beer. You know, you can age and age and age, but if you're not actually drinking them, you need to kind of do make sure to consume those beers and enjoy them. So that's the 1776 James E. Pepper Whiskey Rye Barrel Aged Imperial Brown Ale.
Richard, if you're watching, I don't know if that bottle's going to last, but I'll sort you out later. Been a pleasure, Geoff.
Thank you very much, Dave, for joining us on our weekly videos. I am looking to continue to get guests on that can tell us a bit more about a bit more of a story about the beers that they either represent or that they brew themselves. So watch out for those videos. I'll look to do those videos on Tuesdays typically. I can't guarantee I'll have someone in every single week, but I will endeavour to have as many people as I possibly can. And then obviously on Thursdays at 5 p.m. I also do the weekly update video. So there's a few new beers that have arrived in. Some are from New Zealand from memory, and there's a couple of Aussie ones in there as well. So there'll be a couple of beers, not as many as last week, but there'll be a couple of beers that I'll do a slight review on tomorrow at 5 p.m. That's Thursday. And until then, I appreciate you guys watching. And if you want to subscribe, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you get alerts as to when these videos start broadcasting. Thanks again, and here's to some happy drinking. Cheers.
Guys. Thanks, guys.